Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 7 of season 6. I'm Joshua Buckley with co-host Paul LePage.
Hello.
We have in New York City, Alex Patakis, producer.
Hey.
On the socials in Baltimore, it's Danny Paletti.
Wolves are so bad, I had to sit down.
And back again from Pittsburgh. He asks the most no stupid questions of our entire audience, so hopefully he has at least one for us today. Mr. Drew Bryer. How's it going, Drew?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's going great.
It's going great. What was not going great was all of our Saturdays, as once again, Wolves found a way to ruin it. This time, a 3-1 loss at home to Leeds. We're no points in 5 games. Paul, it's getting a little rough now.
It is. It's getting a little rough because it's got the feeling to me of those horribly undercooked championship teams that got us promoted and were in the Premier League with Dave Jones and Mick McCarthy, and it was never fun. And it's got a lot of the hallmarks of that right now, even to the extent of like the teams that are getting put out and this real push to get this profile of player that's 6 foot plus and can run at opponent or be strong, yet they still get bullied out of headers in the box. They can't defend properly. And it's just, if that's your if that's the style that you're looking to accomplish, I'm pretty worried based on the fact that there's zero creativity with it. But I think right now what I'm most saddened about is the distinct lack of leadership. Doesn't seem to be any leaders on that pitch. No one can organize in that back three. No one in the middle of the park to get stuck in, put their foot on the ball, dictate play. It's just across the team, devoid of leaders, possibly little leadership off the bench now, and it permeates the club. That's what's so disappointing.
Drew, did you know that the record for most defeats to start the year is 7 in a row? And with Spurs and Brighton coming up, there is a possibility that we could match the 2017 Crystal Palace squad and the 2009 Portsmouth squad. Now, Portsmouth got relegated. They were in administration. Crystal Palace did rebound and finish 11th, though. What do you think is more likely? Wolves bounce back and finish 11th, or they tie that or pass that Crystal Palace and Portsmouth record?
If record-breaking losing streaks are what you're looking for, Wolves might be the squad for you. If I were to guess, unfortunately I would have to err on the side of Palace being in Palace's streak being in jeopardy.
Yeah, a little dicey. Danny, big talk when the lineup came out. Krejci was back in the middle. We had Saw back in goal. Tachua was on the right wing back. And we had a Fer Lopez sighting. So it was a little different lineup. What did you think about it going in?
I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of fretting, but a lot of that has to do with just Wolves' general position. And I feel those things too. And I also feel that, Krejci is a real unknown, especially in midfield where he hasn't played a ton of minutes recently. But still, I mean, I think, at home to Leeds, it feels so ridiculous to say after we saw the scoreline that we saw, but like at home to Leeds, you think like that's a perfectly good choice to make it. And it proved to be so, at least in the first period of play. So overall, I wasn't overly fussed about it. I think, the real high point was Fer Lopez starting, which I think a lot of people have been crying out for. And I think kind of is an obvious change to be making these days because in all the other games, we just even in this game, we're struggling really to link defense and attack, and he is seemingly the only player who wants to get the ball, who wants to make something happen, to do something positive, whether it's, something necessarily very direct or not. So I don't know. I was relatively positive about it. I know some people were fussed about John Stone not keeping his place because he had a good game at Newcastle. I agree with that, but I also think that, if Jose Sa's your number one, then you go back to your number one. And that was one that didn't turn out so well.
I feel like arguing between Saw and Johnston is arguing who's the tallest midget. Really? Is there a good answer? I don't know. Alex Krejci, though, boy, maybe he is a midfielder because he had a beautiful finish, really great team goal. Tolu went up, brought the ball down to Fer Lopez. Fer Lopez, beautiful pass to a wide open Krejci. So where do you think his best position is on this squad?
I don't know. Just because he's one of our best midfielders doesn't mean that his best position is midfielder. It just means that we don't really have many midfielders. I mean, honestly, it's probably the position that we haven't really seen him in and might not see him in, and that's like on as a left-sided center back. I think it's hard when he comes in for Andre and creates a goal and seems to be very comfortable on the ball and play very well to say that he shouldn't, have a chance to continue to play in our midfield. But at the same time, I also feel like there's a chance out of necessity with what's going on with our defense that you might have to drop him back there and see if he can do the job back there as well. Like, I don't know. I still would love to see, and I can't say it's his best position because we've never seen him do it, but I would love to see a situation where he is in the center of our back three. And that would mean maintaining, bumping Mosquera back out to the right. Obviously, your captain Totti on the left and Agbadou being dropped, because I know we're going to get to this. And I know that he's been really bad and he was bad again. But if we're calling out for Agbadou to be dropped, I feel like that would mean you have to move Krejci out of the midfield. So, and I could see a situation where that does happen, and whether he's the reason or not, we stop leaking goals and actually start looking like a competitive Premier League side. And then we're starting to think that he's the stabilizing presence and that is his best position. But at present, I really can't say.
Paul Fer Lopez made an early impact, had that beautiful assist. Like Danny was saying, it was, the type of thing that we've been looking out for. But other than that, kind of a rocky performance. You can tell he's only 19 because he was bullied off the ball. Sometimes had a few errant passes. You think that's just something we're going to have to be patient with because of his age?
Yeah. It's where you're missing might have the skill set and the talent like a Sarabia, but he's not got that nous based on experience and knowing what to do in those types of situations, even to the extent of picking up a silly booking on Saturday, which really stifled his game as well. You could tell after that point. So it's definitely a case of rough with the smooth. You really would want him being generally eased into that side more than starting even. It seems out of necessity that he's getting that start, where having that gradual introduction would do him so much more benefit probably long term, and starting the League Cup and work your way into it that way. Being thrust in the spotlight straight away, it's not doing him any favors, unfortunately.
Now, I know this may come as a surprise, but we're not exactly the hippest group of guys. Maybe not up to date on all the fashion, but Alex Patakis is in New York City, so I feel like if anybody would know, it would be Alex. Are pop collars becoming a thing again? Because Fer Lopez was sure as hell rocking it.
I don't know if they're becoming a thing outside of at Molineux, but I'm down for Fer Lopez rocking that. It certainly makes him look a lot edgier, and for a player who is young, looks young, and is kind of just like a shaggy haired teenager vibe going. It adds a little something, you know. So I liked it a lot, actually.
Drew, do you think anybody ever in the history of Pittsburgh has ever popped their collar?
I don't. Short answer.
Not even a Pitt.
Even Pitt, I don't know, man.
Maybe. I was very encouraged by Fer Lopez, but at the same time, he is, not only is he 19 years old, he's got like 20 or 22 senior league appearances, so I feel like to put that much on a kid that young, I mean, he seems to be our most progressive and player out there, but that's a lot to put on a kid that young, popped collar or not. So I think we definitely, as Paul was saying, we definitely got to be patient with him, but it is like he certainly is, like he certainly looks to get forward. So it's a nice change from what seems to be going on with the rest of the group.
I'm just so worried that we're going to ruin him like Fabio by trying to push him too soon. I know they're two different players, but it concerns me. Another thing that should be a concern, Danny, is that Andre left on the bench again. What do you think's going on? He did come in the second half, but it's starting to be a pattern here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I personally am not particularly fussed about like him not being in the starting 11, on its own. But I just see it as part of a larger problem where Vitor just clearly doesn't know his best 11. I think, most of us believe that like Andre ought to be in his first 11. And, maybe we're wrong about that. But when you have Andre getting dropped, despite, the quality that we know he has, and he hasn't been at his top level these games, but nobody has. Meanwhile, you have Agbadou, who started every game and is dropping these stinkers. I think you just, you just have this problem where we're trying to find solutions. I can respect that. We're trying to do different things and trying to find a team that can actually win, which we think, like, I at least think that there is enough quality in this team to win, at least against Leeds at home. But you have, you have these quality players that are being dropped out and then ending up with a similarly disjointed performance. And like I said, I can respect us trying to find solutions, but eventually, the solution needs to be found because if we keep switching around, we're going to just keep becoming more and more disjointed. Players don't know, whether they're going to be dropped or not, because there isn't sort of a metric. And I mean, even when you look at, David Mahler-Wolfe and Matt Doherty, who couldn't even get in the squad, Wolfe had just been brought in, in the summer and now can't get in the squad. And it's just, I know that Vitor said like, well, who do you want me to drop? But it's just this kind of inconsistency is just going to breed more sort of like paranoia that we can't put it together. So yeah, in terms of like specifically, does Andre have to start? I don't think that's necessarily true, but we need to find a solid base to go from, and he's probably part of that.
Well, it certainly didn't look like the solid base was on the pitch after Wolves took that 1-0 lead. Had 3 goals, of course, started off by Calvert-Lewin, great header in between our super physical and tall defenders. Second one, just, a free kick. Maybe bad placement of the wall, maybe bad placement of the keeper. And then the third goal by Okafor right before the half, in which Agbadou delivered a hospital ball, and it, of course, led to the goal. Paul, who do you fault the most? Would you fault Agbadou or Saw? Because they were definitely involved in 2 of those goals, and you could say Saw definitely on the free kick.
I'm just going to go for the easy one and say Jeff Shee.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, like first goal, again, like similar pattern in that goal like Newcastle. You've got to do a better job even first up stopping the cross coming in the first place. I think we've starting to see a real distinct drop off in quality down the wing back flanks. And it's not really obvious, is it? When both Semedo goes and out Nuri, now it's really getting exposed, not just defensively, but defensively of what they were providing and that more solidity down the flank. So that's a factor. I think what got me for the first goal was like Sar's ending position, because I haven't been asked to watch it back actually, but it was like might have been a step out to maybe think about coming and claiming it, but where he ended up just left him with zero chance of anything that was lobbed over his head like the header was. So I'm questioning it three ways on the first one, that you stop the cross coming in, you defend it better, but probably better goalkeeping. I'd have rather him come out and just cleared the guys there, got something on the ball as a punch, just than doing what he ended up doing.
Alex, I thought we were already past this, but I don't think we are. Do we have a keeper controversy between Johnston and Saw? Especially, we're going to assume Johnston starts on Tuesday for the League Cup game. If he has a performance and Wolves win, what do you do come Saturday?
I mean, I still, I don't think so. I don't know. I kind of think that Saw is still the if he's your number one, he's your number one. Like I still don't know that Johnstone has done enough to really like earn taking his place. Saw missed time, came back in. I think it's debatable. Like I actually think, I don't know. I think there was one angle they showed on the free kick where you felt like, okay, he probably should have been set up a little bit better. But then also, like, who is expecting Anton Stock to hit the ball like that? That's going in a lot of times, right? Like even with keepers who are really well positioned. So I don't particularly fault him for that. I hope we don't have that. Like there's too many other issues in the squad to also then be having to worry about like which keeper is going to start in the league every single week and ping-ponging back and forth between them. And saw like leaking confidence, thinking that Johnson is. So it's my hope that Vitor is just going to stick with him and kind of like instill a vote of confidence in him, because I think he needs it, honestly. And I just don't think we can afford to have a keeper who's in his own. I mean, I guess he's kind of always in his own head. Like who knows what's in that head?
Yeah.
With Jose Sa. But let's not get in his head any further, because what's playing out in front of him is not very stable. So let's play.
Well, exactly. He needs something in front of him that he can work with. We've seen that before, last season and even the season before. You saw moments where the defenders who were on it, like Agbadou, were bailing him out. And we sort of took that with the territory. It's like, okay, Jose Sa is going to do some weird stuff sometimes, but we've got someone solid in front of him who's going to bail him out. It doesn't have to be Agbadou. I'm sure that there are other players who have like qualities like Mosquera, even Santi Bueno sometimes, or Matt Doherty in his particular role. But it's just like I agree with Alex in the sense that like we can't just keep flipping around every position. And at some point, especially with defense, you just need to have a solid base and say, this is who I've got. And I don't know. I think for me, the only one who's crossed the line is Agbadou, because that giveaway for the goal and even the crossed goal, are like copy and paste from the previous games. And we can't keep doing that. And there, like Paul said, there are multiple people at fault, but like at a certain point, we have so many center backs. I have to believe that we could drop one of them in order to try to improve the back line.
And I also think, Paul talked about leadership before. And you could bring Johnstone into this team. Like I don't think he's changing that fact. And I also don't I'm not saying Saw has been great at this the past couple of weeks or this season really, but like Johnstone is very, very, I guess, hesitant to come and claim balls. He doesn't seem like he talks that much. Like, I don't really feel like he's communicating that much. There was even a time, and I know it's like stupid to say, but like where there was just like a ball floating up in the air and nobody said anything. And Tolu, like that, we were like not that far away from Tolu possibly like heading that into our own goal and colliding with Johnstone. Like, that's not a good sign for me for a team that's lacking leadership. So if we had if we had the keeper of the future in our team, like sure, but I just don't think Johnstone is it. So to me, there still isn't a controversy.
Drew, you had something?
I was just gonna say, I've seen the stats that, basically 16 shots on target and 11 of them have gone in on Jose Sa. But at the same time, the fact that Calvert-Lewin out jumps Mascara and Agbadou, and then we have 2 7-footers at the other end where the entire second half, all we're doing is sending crosses in, and none of them can seem to get their heads on. It just is. It's tough right now.
So we ask this, it seems like every week, Drew. We haven't heard your opinion. What's wrong with Agbadou other than him turning into Agbadoo?
Gosh, I wish I knew. I wish Vitor knew, because he seems to, I love that he is loyal to his guys, but it's, sometimes almost to a fault. I don't know if I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem like it's an injury. He was never much of a passer per se, but you know what? Like that Newcastle game, I mean, he pinged one to Huang, who put a low cross into Tolu that was like at the last second kicked away. If Tolu bangs that in, like maybe we think of Agbadou differently. And I like that giveaway to Okafor was bad, but again, like you'd like your Premier League keeper to make that save. I don't feel like that shot was so incredible that Saw had no chance on it. And Saw secures that. Maybe it's a little bit different. I feel like sort of the margins are so thin. He is just on the wrong side of every single one of them so far this year. But I know that it's real bleak, but I was looking. I mean, Wolves they had 3 points last year after 10 games, and it was from 3 draws. So we are only 5 games in. I mean, I
So
get
you're
that
saying there's a
been here
chance.
That's exactly what I'm saying. As Danny always says, you can't say. I mean, there's too many game weeks left to say that it's over now. But yeah, it does
Don't put
seem
this on
like
me.
Where are they in the catchability rankings?
Low, very low.
Very low. After
what
the
about
match,
Toadie's hair in your spreadsheets, Danny? I mean, anything from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't recall exactly the numbers, but I do recall that Toadie being blonde was important. But more than that, it was like if Toadie and Lamina were blonde, then we were really good. Or like Toadie and someone else.
If we could have one guy who could progress the ball upfield.
Yeah.
What if Toadie and Toadie and Lamina both had their accounts hacked and were selling
cryptocurrency?
Would that help? Because somebody steal Toadie's password. After the match, Vitor admitted he doesn't know what Wolves' best 11 is. And honestly, can you blame him? Do we as fans know what the best 11 is? I don't think I do. And of course, Vitor doesn't know, because all of these guys came in September, these very important pieces. Why should we expect that Vitor knows what to do with all of them right now, Paul?
I think the thrust there is that it's his fingers now all over this again, like that that mold of player that's supposed to be checking all the boxes in terms of height and strength and all of that. Formation is obviously a big deal on this as well. So it's just like you would think that we're with a sufficient transfer policy that someone would come in and at least be somewhat of a fit and contribute. Might not hit the ground running to be Cunha or Ait Nouri straight from the get-go, but might just offer a little spark to say, okay, they may have come in late in the window. As soon as we get them up to speed, maybe after the October international break or whatever it is, we'll have a nice settled team, and this is the way to go. Like right now, there's just that there's no spark, there's no hope. It's like the only bright spark is a centre back being played out of position who's keeping out a potential Brazilian international who was close to player of the season last year. It's like, make it make sense, because not a lot does right now.
Danny?
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back to Jeff Shee, unsurprisingly. Vitor bears responsibility. I'm not going to deny that whatsoever. I think that it's weird to have this whole situation where we've sort of retooled the recruitment and the transfer policy over to him, but that also has to rest at Jeff Shee. I think, he put out that interview recently and was very, very slick about the way that he sort of put a lot of responsibility on Vitor for whether it, succeeded or failed. But ultimately, I mean, I don't know. We go back and forth about this, but clearly, Jeff Shee is doing at least most of the things that Fosun want him to do. He hasn't been replaced yet. But that doesn't mean that he's some sort of, towering genius. I know that no one on here probably thinks that he is. But I think that a lot of his communications are as if he wants us to believe that, oh, I've got this whole complex plan and that you guys maybe not understand, but it's a whole thing that I'm doing here. But I think that a lot of stuff that I've seen over the past 12 months, honestly, show me a person who is blundering around a lot more than it may seem. And I think case in point is saying that there's this guy who got you 6 wins in a row and who seems to have connected with the fan base. And, if he isn't getting on with the recruitment guy, well, we'll let him go and we'll bring in his recruitment guy. And then, he'll have say over all this stuff. And it's just like, Vitor can choose these guys, and we can go on about Vitor's, tall guy requirement, whatever that is. But in the end, I just look at the squad, and when you have Cunha and you have Ryan Ait-Nouri leaving, those aren't perfect players, but we put a lot of balls through them. And I know that it's kind of like a common criticism, like, oh, just Cunha and hope. We just give it to Cunha, let him do something. But in reality, I mean, these are well-worn paths for a lot of these players to find a way into the box or into the final third, something. And now we're left trying to figure out, how do we get there without them? And that's what he's trying to figure out. And the reality is that they've not been replaced with players of a similar skill set, and probably not even a similar quality. And I don't think that that's necessarily just down to Vitor.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Alex, you're the one with me that probably pays attention to all the sports more. And so when Vitor's talking about his best 11, I don't think necessarily you're trying to get the 11 best, most talented players on the pitch at the same time. I think really sometimes you're looking for a guy, people are going to get mad, like Manetzi, or somebody who fills a role that's going to help some of the stars that are on the pitch. And sometimes it's good to leave some of your good players on the bench that can come in the 60th minute and make an impact. Would you rather see that, or would you rather see, I want to see the best guy at every position, and so our bench is shit?
No, I want to see the best blend of 11 players, the ones that complement each other the most. But the issue again goes back to recruitment. The issue goes back to the fact that we're a selling club, and we are a club that likes to sell and replace players after the fact, right before the deadline, rather than doing so before they're going to go, even though we know they're going to go, right? So like that makes it impossible because you're learning on the fly, and that's, you know, it's. I'm a little surprised because the fixtures are a little bit easier than they were at the start of last year. But in reality, we shouldn't be surprised because this is now becoming the pattern, right? This is becoming the trend, in that we're finding our footing for the first few months of the season. And it's really tough in this league. So I don't know when we'll arrive on our best 11. I think it's also difficult, you know, to go back to Danny's point, when you're constantly recruiting players for multiple different managers with multiple different people like leading the recruitment. Like that's just really hard. I was really triggered before when he mentioned Muller-Wolf because again, this is like one of those avoidable things where it's like we should have a left wing back who we know is in our best 11 because we knew we were going to sell Ryan Aït-Nouri for the last like 2 years. And even if you held on to him too long, like why are we replacing him with a guy who can't even get in the squad now? You know, like unless there is like an injury we don't know about, but considering he called like him and Doc out by name, saying that they're not even in the squad, like there isn't that. That's Ryan Aït-Nouri's replacement. Like you've known for 2 years that this guy is going to go for a big move. So like, how is he supposed to land on his best 11 where his now what he thinks is his best left wing back is the guy, the teenage kid or young 20s kid that we signed to be Pedro Neto's replacement 2 years ago when he left because we couldn't replace him and we still don't have a winger. It's just really hard, guys. I know it's like we're beating a dead horse, but it's really hard not to just like continue to bring all of this back to Shi and the recruitment and the hiring and firing of managers and reshuffling of the structure, because it's impossible to walk into this mess and fix it right away. When it like there's no, beyond whoever the sporting director is, beyond whoever the manager is, there is no structure of a football club. Like there needs to be that for someone to fit into and bring their vision and marry it to that. There's nothing to marry a manager's vision to right now.
Yeah, it's irritating. I knew we were in trouble with Muller Wolfie when he said, "Well, I'm not used to playing left wing back. I'm usually left back," and it was like, "Whoa." Maybe somebody should have asked him if he was comfortable playing this position first. I don't know. I'm not in charge of recruitment, but whatever. Vitor, before the match, Paul, got a 3-year contract extension. Everyone knows, and I will say, I am Vitor in until somebody gives me a better name, which nobody has yet. Paul, that was still madness giving him a 3-year contract extension, right?
Like just timing of the thing, you know, there was surely, this has been kicking around for some time. You'd imagine. It's crazy. It's like, what's he gonna do? Say no, I don't want it now because we're not doing well, and it'll look really bad if I sign this brand new glossy contract. But again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. The fan base would have been absolutely spitting feathers, but if you had the remotest of doubts about his capabilities, about the opportunity for him to push this team on, if there were anything like that, they should have done what Bournemouth did when O'Neill kept him up, fired O'Neill, got Areola in. Everyone was quite outside in. Everyone was quite surprised about that, thinking O'Neill had done a really good job there. And who's this Areola that's going to come in? And that turned out to be a masterstroke. Yet at the time, everyone thought it was a crazy move. But it comes down to this football club again, and the infrastructure and the decision makers behind it. They wouldn't have the nous to be that creative if there was someone available that could work with what they've got to kick this team on and move it forwards, to make that call in the summer and do it then. There's just not that. We haven't got an inkling of that when it comes to the technical side of the game from that front office. So it's just it could be bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Nothing changes until those decision makers aren't making the decisions anymore.
Drew, I feel like the only way you can justify it is if the second or really after this year, it's not necessarily guaranteed. So if you sacked him at some point this year, you just would have been on the hook for the same amount if he hadn't signed the extension. What I mean, would you have given this to him?
Well, of course. I mean, when have we ever known Vitor to leave a club with less than 3 years time working there? I mean, uh, it's I feel like they're in a grasping at straws kind of phase. I mean, 8 minutes in, Vitor decides to put Krejci in over Andre. Krejci rewards him with a goal. Vitor had quite the smug smile on his face and was feeling pretty good. Molineux was going nuts. It looked like literally, the first 8 minutes of that game, it looked like that was a good decision. They were putting their faith in him. He was gonna get them out of the rut. I mean, they were on 0 points, but like a 3-pointer was a significant, would significantly help them get out of the bottom. But I mean, I guess I'm glad it's not my money. I don't know. I just feel like they can't, like Fosun, that is, like they just can't get anything right these days. I appreciate that they put a lot of faith in him. And I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I was really excited when they put a lot of faith in Gary O'Neill. I mean, he seemed to, that first year and then that first off season, we were thinking top 10, top 12 finish. I appreciate that they put the faith in him, but like, I really don't feel like they are, I don't think they're putting the right kind of faith in the right kind of players for him. Although, I say that, but he also seems to be looking, like we're talking about, he's looking for a certain profile of player, and he's certainly got his tall, fast, athletic guys, but none of them can seem to, they still need the talisman. They still don't have that. So that's sorry, but for the long answer, but would I have done it? I guess you want to do it. Do you want to do it before the first win? I don't know. Do you want to, like, if you got to wait for the first win, how long are you waiting for? So,
Well, and you can't even say it was an agreement with Jeff Shee because he's so good at holding those with, oh yeah, don't worry guys, a lot of money in the transfer window.
I mean, for me, it's just about the context. If they had dropped, a new contract after that 6-win streak, I don't think anybody bats an eyelid, we say, because I think a new contract is expected. Like I don't know the details of these things, but I expect that the contract that a manager gets when they come in mid-season is very different to one that they get during the summer. And so, there's kind of an expectation that, like, okay, whatever, firefighting we had to do, that's out of the way. And now you're settling into being a regular manager. And even if it happened over the summer, I don't think anybody particularly cares. But like with Gary O'Neill, the context around that, I think nobody had a problem. It was a decent season that he'd seen us through despite coming in at the last minute. But then when we got news that it's 4 years, we say, like, well, hold on. Like what happened to 2 years? Like, let's just see how that goes, And it's like, even though preseason was looking okay, it's just something that makes you step back and say, whoa, what are we thinking at boardroom level? Same thing with this Vitor thing, where it's like, you guys had all this time to do it, and now you're putting it out now. And it seems like the only reason to put it out now is just as a kind of a vote of confidence, like to communicate to the fans and to the media that, like, no, it's okay. Like, we're losing games, but it's going to be okay. We trust that Vitor is going to turn it around. But we all know that it's not necessarily going to happen. He could just get deeply unlucky, even if he's, doing all the right things, like, like bad things happen, and he's the only person you can replace before January. So it's just such a weird time to do it. And all these things put together, it's a night for rambling, but all these things put together, it just feels like the last time that I felt like they made an appointment that I was like, okay, they're thinking of something long term was Lopetegui. Even though that was a firefighting scenario, it was like, this is a guy we've been chasing for a while. This is a guy who's won things, whatever. And then we know how that turned out. And ever since then, it's just everything, even if it's the right choice, like I said, you know, we all expect a new contract for Vitor. It feels like there's some asterisk where it's like, yeah, but why now? Or why 4 years? Like, what are we doing here?
Alex, it just gets me so angry when people are like, anybody but Vitor. And I keep saying, I need a name for an upgrade. Alex, I think as a Knicks fan, you could agree. You don't want to fire somebody like a Tom Thibodeau just to make a change, because then you get stuck with a Mike Brown, right? As Knicks coach.
Yeah, except in this instance, I don't even know that there is a Mike Brown for Wolves out there, right? Because like the Knicks
Who
still
wants it?
maintain like a shine of like Madison Square Garden, and you know, also like no threat of relegation necessarily. Like they're going to be in the NBA anyway. They were very, very close to you know, making a serious run, and have been the past couple of years. So like I get what you're saying, but you almost can't even compare it, because I don't know what the alternative to Vitor is, because any name that I would almost guarantee that any name that someone brings up right now that they have pinpointed, that they have their heart set on, is someone who would like, you know, the phone rings and it says Jeff Shee, and they just decline the call and send it to voicemail. Like like who,
Exactly.
you know, who wants this at this point, right? Like if you just want him gone for the sake of being gone, it's just going to be someone you've never heard of. And it's, you know, they're coming in with like a kind of a questionable resume. Like we're not in that stage. Even from when we brought Lopetegui in, which was a good plan, like Danny said, it showed some semblance of a vision, of a plan. We have fallen significantly since then. Like he also walked out on us, let's not forget. And yes, we like were inspired and motivated by you know, that we had a chip on our shoulder and Gary O'Neill came in last minute or whatever. But like, you know, like even looking back on that, like he was probably right to do that. Like any of us would probably want to do that too. And like, and as much as like we hate him and Guillaume Balaguer and all the stupid interviews that Lopetegui has done since, and how he also failed in other Premier League clubs at West Ham, but he was still right, I think. So I don't know, man. Throw names out, do whatever, but like, good luck getting them. Like, what are you selling them at this point? Like, Vitor is at least here. He's under contract. He's contractually obligated to do this job. So just let him do the job and let him try.
You know who wants this, Alex? Steve Cooper.
No.
Hasn't he gone to Denmark or somewhere? I'm sure I saw he got a job.
You're right.
I hope he went somewhere where there's a good
in Europe.
He's somewhere really obscure. I don't know how
Yeah.
I came across that as well. This is where we do a quick Googling. But could you
he
imagine?
Googles. I'll just say, like, you know, there are realistic names out there, but it's just like Alex said, why are they interested? Like, you know, Sean Dyche or someone, you know, like someone who, you know, some people might think, oh, he'll just make us solid and keep us up. He might. How's he going to work with Jeff Shee? I mean, I know it's ridiculous to talk about next summer when we're worried about relegation, but it's like, how's that going to work long term? And I only mean long term as in like not this coming January, but the following January, like literally like less than 18 months, you know? And it's just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not like in love with the flailing that it feels like Vitor is doing, but at the same time, you know, I just, the problem is higher up than him. Who works with Jeff Shee, and maybe more importantly, who works with George Mendes better than him? You know, I don't know.
Paul, JSL also signed a contract extension. But if I've learned anything else from you, Paul, it's that contracts don't mean jack squat in soccer.
Yeah, I'd like this. I think with his the deal that he came in on, if it's like a loan with the obligation initially, then he'd have had that contract signed up last summer. You know, all of these targets are hit, the deal go through. When it does, this is your contract. I'm imagining that was all done and dusted. So if anyone does come in, even though he's just signed permanently and he's getting the option probably to get close to doubling his money, his salary, he's going to be extremely tempted. And if he was pissed off about the door being closed on him, and it takes finances to make it better, then that's what he's gonna not necessarily push for, but he's certainly not going to turn down a gesture to say thanks for your loyalty. Here's an extra few grand each and every week. But again, like the team goes down, he's off. He has another good season and gets around about that same amount of goals. We're highly doubtful right now, just based on the output of the team. But he gets a move again, so purely just to keep him happy.
Well, guys, let's look ahead. This week we have 2 matches. That's why we're recording on Sunday night. The first one is a League Cup game at home against Everton. It's Tuesday at 2:45 Eastern, 1:45 Central. Drew, seeing as Vitor has said he's still not sure what his best 11 is, you got to throw out what you think is your best 11 to just see if it works for this match, right?
Oh, I guess. Sure, sure, but I feel like, if all 5 of us guessed who we thought he would start, I think we'd have 5 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I gotta think they gotta start getting some positive vibes back in that locker room. And so, yeah, does it make sense to try to play as strong of a squad as possible? I would say yes. So yeah, I guess so. But boy, it is, again, it's hard to. I mean, when the manager doesn't even know, it's real hard for us to really know what we might see on Tuesday.
Danny, Tuesday, we could see a lot of different combinations, but come Saturday at Spurs, which is an afternoon game for us, it's at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, right in the heart of college football time. Who do you expect to be sitting on the bench that's been starting the last few games come Saturday?
God, I have what an unfair question. How am I supposed to know that? I don't know. What I'm hopeful of is that I don't know. I mean, I know people like the idea of Tolu and JSL playing together, but assuming that that's not Vitor's plan A, then I guess I'll say the slightly hopeful answer is that Tolu's on the bench. I've liked him. I have no particular problem with him. I think he's played reasonably well, but he's on the bench because JSL is healthy enough to start the game and play most of it.
Alex, the answer has to be Agnew on the bench, right?
You would think, but
I'd love to predict that so far.
Danny's like, nah.
Hasn't happened by now. I don't really know what else it's going to take, truly, but I don't know. That would be the most likely candidate, I think.
Paul, how important is this Spurs match to at least get a point?
I'm not I'm not beating them up necessarily if it came to not getting anything from there, as long as the performance is better.
Yep.
Or there's not a stupid goal that comes from across from one of the flanks like Newcastle and like Leeds. So if they came away with a loss, but you could make a genuine claim that they've worked on something to try and make them more solid at the back, and maybe looked at that team and thought, how can I get some creativity into it? I wouldn't think it's the end of the world if they came away without anything, but I'm always going back to the fact that what Pereira did when he first came in was make him hard to beat, and they're defended very, very well. And I generally don't know where that's gone. And that's my biggest thing right now is how does he make him more solid? If there's some green shoots of that away at Spurs, it's going to be a tricky place to go. Decent form and all of that. I think it's more about the performance than the result on Saturday.
Okay. Well, let's go to the prediction board here. None of us got points. Again, no surprise.
Serves us right
Whatever.
for being hopeful.
Yeah. Danny, you're still in the lead with 4 points. Alex has 3. Me and Paul have 2. Drew, the guest spot, only has a point. So let's see if he can get him on the board. We're going to start with that Everton League Cup game. What is your prediction, Drew?
2-0 Everton.
Danny?
Trying to get the guest spot some points here.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, I'm feeling a bit pessimistic in general. So I'm going to go Wolves 2, Everton 3.
Ooh, high scoring. Alex?
I think I'll say 1-1, and Wolves advance on penalties after Johnstone has a couple beautiful saves, thus fueling the goalkeeper controversy narrative. Because even when good things happen, they still have to have like a tinge of some type of shit that we're gonna have to deal with, and that's the best I could concoct. So there you go.
I like the way you think, sir. Paul?
It's so Wolvesy to be gashing the league, but put a decent cup run together. So I'm going for a repeat of that 2-1 win in the second round, whatever it was. So yeah, we got to win 2-1.
Yeah, I don't think Everton's going to throw their best squad out there. I think they have Europe goals this year, and I don't think they really care too much about the League Cup. And I don't know. I got a feeling there's going to be some shakeup on the defense. Johnston in goal. I'm going to say 1-0 Spurs with a lot of clenched bum time. And now let's go to Spurs. Drew.
Let me go Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Spurs 3.
Wow, you are predicting quite the week here. Paul, if they lose a combined 5-0, Drew has to be back on here next week as punishment.
You can take my place because I won't be on to talk about it. I'll be done.
Oh my god.
Danny?
Spurs 2, Wolves 0.
Oh my god. You get okay. Alex?
I'll say Spurs 3, Wolves 1.
This is what happens when we record the day after.
Yeah.
Who's the goal scorer, Alex?
Oh, I'm gonna say Larson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul?
I'm trying to think of something outlandishly positive to at least drop a hint of positivity on this, but the most outlandish thing I can do that covers those boxes is say Spurs 0, Wolves 0, and that's never going to happen.
0-0.
I don't think I've ever predicted a 0-0. So
You know when there's those draws that you feel like it was kind of a loss?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be. I can see Wolves up 2-1, looking good thanks to an own goal by Spurs. It's looking good. And then in the 94th minute, a goal by Spurs. And it finishes 2-2, and we're all depressed still. So I'm going to say a 2-2 draw.
No Stupid Questions is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. Whether you're toasting some Vino de Vitor or winding down after a day of work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of wine country with each sip. Now at esfuerzowines.com, you can use the promo code VITOR, that's VITOR, at checkout to receive a 30% discount off your order. And don't forget to try the special edition 1-pack wines to show your passion and support for Wolves with each glass. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their product responsibly and in moderation.
That time of the show where you, the listener, have a chance to ask us anything in relation to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and there's a number of ways that you can do so. For those who are watching live, you can just throw your question right there in the chat, and then of course you can get us on our socials at WLW Pod on X, and email hello@wholelottofwolves.com. It's of course brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. You can see it there on the ticker, and you heard it there a second ago. Esfuerzowines.com. Use the promo code Vitor for a 30% discount on at checkout. Let's start with this one for our guests, Drew. Matthew Kowalis asked, for those visiting Pittsburgh, Wolves bars, give us some recommendations. Where can a wanderer in Pittsburgh land on Tuesday or Saturday?
Yeah, so in Lawrenceville on Butler Street, there is a bar called The Pitch. It is owned by a Wolves supporter, and that is where Steel City Wolves gathers to watch games. If Lawrenceville isn't your jam and you're on the south side, you can go to Piper's Pub, and they play all of the games there. And so they have a variety of supporters that'll be there as well.
Anybody are pop callers allowed there?
They are greatly discouraged, but allowed.
By Drew.
Nice. Okay, let's get to a question from our friend Soccer in the South on X. Asks whether Agbadu has inherited the curse of Leo Bonatini, a great half season followed by sheer tragedy. Paul, this drop off pretty unique. Oh,
You're on mute.
We've got you muted there.
Talking of random names and where they are now, someone will have to do a quick Leo Bonatini watch and find out where he is. But yeah, that's it's a blast from the past for sure, and like such a drop off. But at least then you had the fact that, okay, Bonatini stopped scoring, but you know, at least we got someone called Diogo Jota who's still banging them in and taking us all the way through to promotion. So things didn't work out too badly when it came to that. The predicament we're in right now, I'm not sure we got anything like that to fall back on.
Yeah.
To
Leo
answer your
Bonatini.
question, Leo Bonatini is in Liga MX.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
For who?
it wouldn't be that hard to go see him.
San
For who?
Luis.
Yeah.
Okay.
San Luis, I believe, if you are familiar. Is that on a permanent from
Yep.
Grasshoppers? I believe it is. Good old Grasshoppers. No one there can rescue us this year. Come on. All right. Let's last week's guest, Greg Ellis. He also asked us on X whether the answers are somewhere in this squad. That's kind of a fun question. Drew, what do you think?
I mean, what's the
solution?
question we're asking here for the answer?
I think the question is, we don't know our best 11. We have no idea. Maybe can we possibly stumble upon it with this group of players?
Yeah,
or will there be a spending spree in January?
Well, you know, I think, you know, I think there is potential here. I think that, you know, I don't think this is a bottom of the barrel kind of squad, but at the same time, I do think they have to spend in January, but I mean, they've tried to spend this summer as well, and we hear whether it's agent talk or not, we hear stories of rejection. So, I'm legitimately concerned as to how much they will even be able to improve the squad in January. So yeah, I guess that's my short answer.
Does anyone else have a thought on that? If the solutions are there,
I take the question to mean, is this squad good enough to be at least 17th? And I think that it is. I mean, now having seen Leeds, I know we lost 3-1. I'm very aware, but I don't think that they're, particularly. I don't think that we're behind them. I think, in fact, they're behind us in terms of squad quality. It's just a matter of being able to put it together. And like, I know I did a lot of ownership bashing, but like that's on Vitor now, like for better or worse. And, it is for worse. We've ended up with the squad one way or another, and now it's his turn to try to get us out of it. And like, that's the unfortunate part of it, is that, regardless of how deserving he is or not, he's going to live or die by these decisions that we've made in the window, and the decisions he keeps making week to week. So I think that there's plenty of talent in the squad, again, just to come 17th. I'm not talking about like a push towards Europe or something. There are, solid workman-like players in this squad. Too many of them, you could argue, but like should be able to put together some solid defensive performances enough to, do better than Leeds and Burnley and one other team.
Yeah. I don't know. I know they bought players in. I think it's still very questionable, the quality of those players, which is kind of sad. I guess just one like thing I was just thinking, like, when's the last time Wolves signed somebody where you felt like you had like a really good inkling they were going to be good? You weren't just hoping. Like, we're just always hoping for these unproven players from lower level leagues that we've really never heard of to pan out. Like, and I just, even as a bottom half of the table Premier League club, I don't know that always has to be the case. Like, people can buy players.
No, Jeff G has just gaslighted us into believing that you could only buy players who you've never heard of. Yeah, no one else seems to want.
Like, what? I understand the intent there, but like, when you're in the situation we're in, like, you also need some players who have at least proven at some point in their careers that they could play at this level. I just feel like we just do that way less than anyone else. So I don't know. I hope Danny's right. I hope everyone's right that it's there. I'm starting to question. Let's go to this question from, is it Cy Waldron? Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Who asks, if Folsom were to sell the club, who would be your dream owner? Josh, dream owner for
I am going to go with Pittsburgh native himself, Mark Cuban. Because even though Cuban would still, want some return on his investment, but Cuban does not take losing well. And you better believe he would not only get the squad up to quality, but he would also fix up Molineux.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Anyone else have a dream owner in mind? Drew, you got somebody?
I was going to say either Fenway Sports Group or Steve Ballmer, actually. And
Steve Ballmer would be great.
Also thinking about, the fixing up of I'd love for the people of Wolverhampton to get a new Molineux and interactive experience and screens at all their seats and leg room, all the accoutrements, and
I bet Steve Ballmer could also get through one of those shady deals where you're paying one of your players like $40 million to not show up.
There you go.
I do want to visit the new Clippers arena, Paul. This is a basketball. Steve Ballmer owns the Los Angeles Clippers, because when they were building their new arena, he did a scientific test to figure out how to build the bathroom so it was never more than a 5-minute line.
Wow.
Ever. Yeah. Like science was involved. Whether or not that is actually the case, I don't know. I haven't been there. But
I think everyone who sits in the Steve Ball stand at Molineux now wants him as our new owner, because that is permanently still 1979 science as far as going to the restrooms in that stand goes.
Oh, I thought it was the leg room that was the
There's
the
that
big-
as well. Yeah,
it's everything.
sight lines weren't a thing back in those days.
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer, I like that.
Any other anyone else got a good one? No one's going the celebrity Wrexham route.
No, we've done the celebrity bit too many times. Yeah, it'd be great if Taylor Swift or someone bought us. But
Oh my god, that would be incredible.
I've got an answer that's maybe too similar to Josh's, but it makes me think about Michelle Kang, who owns the Spirit. She also owns 2 other women's clubs, London City Lionesses and Lyon. And I don't love the multi-club model. And I want to point out that, shilling for any billionaire makes me feel dirty. She's still a dirty capitalist, making her money in various unethical ways. I don't think you can escape that, but she is a person like, Josh was describing with Mark Cuban, who recognizes that there are lots of things that go into a healthy club. It's not just purchasing players. Sometimes it is investment in the grounds. Sometimes it's investment in other parts. I mean, she made a huge investment in the medical side for Washington Spirit, which, like, especially in women's football, is like a hugely underserved part of the game. And it's not always going to be the same at each club, but I think that the weird thing that we're living through now is like we have to be so focused on just spending for the players that are actually on the pitch. And then meanwhile, there's all these ancillary parts. I call them ancillary, like the academy or whatever, that we don't even have time to complain about, that are just being completely neglected. And they're all part of making an actually healthy club. So anybody who do that, I'm on board with.
Danny, I don't know what you're talking about, because the esports ancillary is getting a ton of attention.
Well, I heard on the Wolves Fancast the other night that the esports team is doing terribly right now. So I don't know if it's actually helping.
Oh, I want to know how fast they make changes there that actually help that team.
Have a manager in esports? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, an individual team will have like a coach / manager.
So if Taylor Swift buys Wolves, what is their new walkout song?
Oh.
Well, right now it's got to be "Shake It Off" over and over again.
Yeah.
Shake it off.
I don't know any Taylor Swift songs, so that's why I threw it to the group.
How about "You Need to Calm Down"? I could see that.
Yeah. It could be the first team that plays a song when the other team scores. That could be like our scored against goal song. Yeah, I think that'll do us for No Stupid Questions. Thanks to all those who participated and sent in your questions, and thanks to our friends at Esfuerzo Wines. Promo code VTOR. We still got faith in VTOR. We're still going to be toasting to him soon. It's coming, guys. Hang in there. 30% off your order when you use the VTOR code at checkout.
I think the bigger thing is when we're talking about Jeff Shee, we can definitely say he's a blank space.
Ah, nice. All right. I knew you were going to pull a song. There we go.
Yeah, I can do it.
Sai's got a great answer in the chat. "Cruel Summer," just like our transfer.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Bravo.
Oh, my
God.
Well done, Sai.
You've just
Drew?
named this week's podcast episode. Thanks, Sai.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cruel
That's
Summer.
written it for us.
Drew, where can people find you in the Pittsburgh area?
Okay, so on socials, it's at Drew Freakin on X, and in the Pittsburgh area, still ringing the bell for Steel City Wolves. We try to get together if we can. Again, the pitch on Butler in Lawrenceville, and yeah, otherwise you'll see me actually at mostly at my son's club soccer events is where I spend most of my days.
Thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing, and our audience, as this show is well and truly for you. You would be doing us a huge favor if you can share the love with a review on your podcast platform listening of choice, or over on YouTube. If you've yet to check out our content, please head over there, hit the likes and the subscribes, get those notifications and everything that you can do on there, because it all helps grow the whole lot of Wolves pack. We're going to be back around about this time next week. We'll be reviewing that Everton game and the Spurs game, and then looking ahead to another guaranteed 3 points for a bogey team, Brighton, that always get them at Molineux. So the positivity just continues, ladies and gentlemen. So we take that into the week, and all we can really say is just up the mighty Wolves.